We're at that place now. For good and for bad, we're at that place now. Okay. Okay, ready? Just sit with your feet on the ground, sit straight in your chair, untangle yourself. Take a deep breath, cleanse it. As my teachers always told me, wherever you've been, you're no longer there. Wherever you're going, you're not there yet. So you have a choice. Just be here now. It's not always easy being here now, but that's part of what we are trying to accomplish within a tefillah setting. I have a minute or so, I think, before we are online. Yeah. Everybody smile. You're on camera. Not really, just the backs of your head. So if you get the backs of your head to smile, that would be terrific. I'm Rabbi Moshe Waldox. I'm the founding rabbi of this shul about 25 years ago. The last few years I've been semi-retired. I do a service once a month, and I lead various parts of the services over the holidays. I teach a class online every week, and I run a meditation community that we've had for many years. You're invited to join the meditation community. It's Friday mornings. I know it's hard for some folks, but that's been going on for about 22 years now. And I must say we get a very nice cohort every week. It's just an amazing phenomenon. So you have an opportunity, many opportunities to connect with us during the week. I Let's see everybody. Welcome to all of you here, there, and everywhere. Good to see you here. Our tefillot, and I use the word tefillah because a lot of people call this a service, and I never understood that service. I understand where it comes from, because it was avodah. You had the avodah, the service in the temple, so you call it a service. I always feel like going to a service station. You know, when I hear a service, they're going to lift me up on a hydraulic ramp and change all the fluids. That might not be a bad idea every once in a while to change all the fluids. But the bottom line is tefillah is the word we use in Hebrew. It's from the word lehit palel. Interesting word. Those of you who know a little bit of Hebrew, lehit palel is a reflexive verb. So you're talking to yourself. Right? It's very important to understand that. There's not a sense in tefillah that you're not basically, if you will, entering into a place of hopefully appealing. The word plila in modern Hebrew, palel, is like an appeal. You go to bet mishpat plili, you go to an appeals court, le palel. So what are you doing? You are appealing to your better self to let the better self emerge. It's okay, Shabbos. Thursday, you may not want the better self to emerge, right? You're involved in some competition with some other tech company, and you want to get them. But Shabbos, you relax. You don't have to be that vulnerable. And when you hit palel, you basically work on yourself. And I know that for some that's an interesting theology because I don't use the word prayer either. People aren't comfortable with me because I say this is, for instance, the book we're using is not a prayer book because there are very few prayers in here, by the way. We have a few, but for the most part, they're poetry, songs, a miscellany of things that have come together over hundreds of years, if not more than that. Our Psalms, for instance, go back 1,500 to 1,800 years ago. Pretty sophisticated stuff. We often say, oh, it's old, it must be primitive. No, it's old and it's very stylistically sophisticated. So we have different things, and we'll talk about those as we go through the service, give a little bit of explanation here as we go. Before we begin Kabbalat Shabbat means receiving of Shabbat. So in order to receive it, what do you got to do? In order to receive it, open, right? You got to open, right? And then you can receive it. Otherwise, it stays out. So Kabbalat Shabbat is a contemporary, for us, a contemporary service because it's only 16th century. So it's catching on. It did pretty well. It started as a fad and a trend, and now it's become, really out there. So Kabbalat Shabbat was put together, different psalms, and one great rabbi on page 2 did a preamble to it, a preamble to Kabbalat Shabbat. It's not officially part of that collection that was put together in Tzfat, which is up in the north of Israel. Safed, they say in English. And it's based on the 4-letter name of God. You notice that every paragraph has a large letter beginning it. Okay, what's the first one? Yud, second Hey, third Vav, last Hey. So that's the 4-letter name, Yud, Hey, Vav, Hey, which cannot be pronounced. So how do you pronounce it? So we created euphemisms. Adonai, my Lord, that's going by the wayside a little bit now. Hashem, not bad. The name, that's a pretty good one. And a few others. The Kabbalists have a name called Shem Havaya. They take the Yud He Vav He and they twist it around and make it Shem Havaya, the name of experience or essence. So there are different ways of saying it. We will use a word here quite often. You'll be maybe surprised by it, but it's the word Yah. Hallelujah. You heard it. Oh, good. It's nothing new for you guys. But Yah is a contraction of Yud He Vav He, and we will use it occasionally during our service. I wanted you just basically to feel comfortable with it. So this poem is called Yedid Nefesh, my soulmate, you who love my soul. And of course, it's about the Shekhinah. It's about the bringing in the indwelling presence of God, the Shekhinah, the feminine aspect of what we call the Godhead, the cluster within Kabbalah of different aspects of God. This is the feminine one. And on Shabbos, both of us, all of us, have both of these within us, and we let them come out a little bit. Because the minute you stop being defensive, guess what? Some of that macho stuff begins to fade away, and you realize that you have other parts of yourself that need to come out every once in a while. So Yud He Vav He, we'll sing in English and in Hebrew. They both work to the same tune. Page 2. Yedid nefesh av harachaman mishoch avdecho el ritzonecha yarutz avdecha kemo ahayal yishtachave el emul hadorecha yerav lo yedidutecha bino fetzuf V'chol toam, how splendid is your light, which worlds do reflect. My soul is worn from craving for your love's delight. Please, good God, do heal her and show to her your face.
so my soul can see you and bathe in your grace. There she will find strength and healing in the sight. Her joy will be complete then, eternal her delight. Vati yemuna rachamecha v'chusana al ben ahuvecha. Ki ze kama נחשפתי לראות מהרה בתפארת עוזך. אלך כבדה ליבי וכוסנה ואל תתעלם. Oh, help my lover spread your canopy of peace, enfold all human beings, give all pain surcease. Your presence on this earth plane do make known to us, and we shall respond with song and with dance. Rush, my love, be quick, the time for love is now. Let your gentle favor grace us as of old. Adadai-dai-dai-dai, adadai-dai-dai-dai, adadai-dai-dai-dai-dai-dai-dai, adadai-dai-dai-dai, adadai-dai-dai-dai, adadai-dai-dai-dai-dai-dai-dai, adadai-dai-dai-dai, adadai-dai-dai-dai, adadai-dai-dai-dai-dai-dai-dai, adadai-dai-dai-dai, adadai-dai-dai-dai, adadai-dai-dai-dai-dai, adadai-dai-dai-dai, adadai-dai-dai-dai-dai, adadai-dai-dai-dai-dai, adadai-dai-dai-dai, adadai-lai-lai-lai, adadai-dai-dai-dai, adadai-dai-dai-dai-dai-dai-dai, adadai-dai-dai-dai, adadai-dai-dai-dai, adadai-dai-dai-dai-dai.
You know, a good nigun, a good tune, never ends when you stop singing it. It continues on and reverberates in your kishkas, which means viscera for those who don't know Yiddish. Kishkas, your inner self, right? Your intestines. And it keeps rattling around. And if you got a good nigun, guess what? It's the one you'll whistle on the way out, on the way home. That's, you know, we have a hit right there. And this one is an old Chabad tune from 1820 or so, 1815. And it's been around for a long time, and it's made the charts, and now it's moving up on the charts. It's going to be around for a while. So if you're able to rise, we rise, and we'll turn towards our nerot, our candles, and we'll bless the Shabbat candles. We use a preface here to the called Holy One of Blessing, your presence fills creation. Holy One of Blessing, your presence fills creation. So we rise and face the candles. Holy One of Blessing, your presence fills creation. Your presence fills creation. Oh, your presence fills creation. Holy One of Blessing, your presence fills creation. Your presence fills creation. Oh, your presence fills creation. We take in the light of the candles to connect with our inner light, and we say, as we cover our eyes, Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Eloheinu melech haolam, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner, lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Good Shabbos, good Shabbos. Shabbat Shalom. You may be seated. This is again a a preamble to when Shabbat officially is brought in, and that's with the Psalm for the Shabbat, which we'll come to in a little while. We turn to page 3 for the beginning of the Psalms. I'm not going to stop and explain each Psalm, but if you look at the chart that's there, if you want to, on each of the pages of the Psalms, you'll see where it stands in the Kabbalistic tree of life, which each day of the week, which each Psalm is assigned to each day of the week. Psalm 1 is Sunday, etc., etc. And it gives you sort of an attribute, and it gives you a sense of what the kavanah, the directed intentionality for that psalm is. In this case, we start with a very important thing that we don't always get to do often, and that's to be compassionate. Compassion. So we'll just go through. I'm not going to stop each time, but I'll give you a little moment at the beginning of each psalm to think about something that happened this week. I know it's hard. You don't have your PDAs and stuff with you, but you can possibly remember that there was something, perhaps a minor little thing or a gigantic thing that happened on Sunday, and you want to take that and bring that into Shabbos. The roadblocks and things that you stumble over on Sunday, don't bring it into Shabbos. There'll be more. Don't worry. Don't worry. You won't end them. So you don't want to bring a ball and chain into Shabbos with you. You want to let it go and bring what blessings you have into Shabbat with you. That's your gift to Shabbat, because Shabbat is a gift to us, tremendous gift that we have. So we give back by offering the best, as I said earlier, the best of ourselves. Page 3, Psalm 95.
Lechu niranena l'Adonai na'aria letzur yishenu nikadma panav betoda bezmirot naria lo ki elegadol Adonai umelegadol al kol Elohim Asher biyado mechkerei haaretz v'toafot harim lo. Ay, rai, 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 rai. Ay, rai, 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 rai. Hari rai rai, hai rai rai ri rai rai, hai rai rai ri rai rai, hai rai rai ri rai rai rai, rai rai. Hi, ri, 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 hi, ri, 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 hi, ri, 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 hi, ri, 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 hi, ri, 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 ay, ay, ay. Come, let us meet Yah with song. Page 5, Psalm 96. Think about Monday. What would you like to bring in from Monday, Yom Sheni, into Shabbos with you? Could be something small, a phone call from a friend you haven't heard for a while. People still use the phone for calls, I understand. And there's also the possibility that let's say you take a bus every morning to work. Most of us don't, but some of us do. And someone smiles at you for the first time who hasn't smiled to you all the time you've been on that bus for years. Or it could be something great. You win the lottery. Anybody? No, okay. Just checking, because we can use something for the endowment. Whatever. I'm very happy to say that I can bring in every day something nice. It's really important that you have that capacity for gratitude. That's really as they say in French, the Iker Zach. That's the essential thing, is gratitude. You get gratitude down, folks, everything else will come to you. Shiru l'Adonai shir chadash, shiru la'Yah kol haaretz, shiru la'Yah baruchu shemo, pasru miyom Yeshuato, sapru v'goyim kevodo, echol ha'amim nifleotav, vayay ki gadol Yah, umehulal meyod, nora hu al kol Elohim, ay 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 ki kol Elohim, amim elilim v'haya shamayim masa, hod v'hadar lefanav, oz v'tiferet במקדשו, הבו ליה משפחות עמים, הבו ליה כבוד שמו, הבו לאדוני כבוד שמו, שאו מנחה ובואו לחצרותיו, היי רי רי השתחוו ליה בהדרת קודש, חילו מפניו כל הארץ, אמרו בגויים יא המלך, אך תיכון תבל בעלתימות, ידין עמים במישרים, ישמחו השמיים ותגל הארץ, יאיר המים ומלואו יעלו שדי וכל אשר בו, היי אז ירננו כל הציור לפני קיבה לשפוט הארץ, ישפוט תבל וצדק ויעמים באמונתו, היי רי 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 ים דרי רי רי היי 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 רי רי היי רי 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 היי רי 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 היי רי 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 היי 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 רי 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 היי רי לי לי היי רי רי היי רי רי היי רי 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 היי רי 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 ים ברביה בם בם ביי ים ביי בם 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 היי בם 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 היי ים ברבים בם ביי היי 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 Hi, 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 hi. Tuesday, Yom Shlishi. See if you can think back to something you'd like to bring into Shabbos with you, a gem of experience. The aroma of a flower. Perhaps for many of you, Valentine's Day brought you flowers. The fragrance, bring it into Shabbos with you. At the bottom of page 6, Or Zaru Ela Tzaddik. Light is sown for the tzaddik, the just one, and simcha, gladness for those who are ethical. Tzaddikim, just ones, rejoice in Yah, and give thanks to God's holy name, to the consciousness of Yah's uniqueness. Or Zaru Ela Tzaddik. Last two lines. Ole Yisrael Simcha. Or Zaru Ela Tzaddik. Ole Yisrael Simcha. Simchu Tzaddikim Baya. Vehodu Lezech Kodsho. Simchu tzadikot baya, vehodu lezech kodsho. Or zaru ala tzadik, ole yisrael simcha. Or zaru ala tzadik, ole yisrael simcha. Simchu tzadikim baya, vehodu lezech kodsho. Simchu tzadikot baya, vehodu lezech kodsho. Ay rai 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 yam barabim bam bai. Ay rai 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 rai. Ay rai rai yam barabim bam bai. Ay rai 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 rai. Or zaru ala tzadik. Ole Yisrael simcha, or zarua la tzadik. Ole Yisrael simcha, simchu tzadikim baya, vehodu lezech kodsho. Simchu tzadikot baya, vehodu lezech kodsho. Wednesday, Yom Revi'i, Psalm 98 on page 8.
You notice the positioning now on the tree of life, different aspects, different ways of seeing things. The first words are Shir Lanu Shir Chadash. We had that before in the second psalm as well. Sing for us a new song. So in the case of Tehillim, of the book of Psalms, where this comes from, not a problem. There are 150 of them. There were new ones coming along all the time. But they stopped at 150. So we have to make newer songs. So the way we've done it to keep the tradition alive is, and those of you who've been to Nariah here, and there'll be one next week as well, our sing-out, is we change the tunes rather than change the words. And we find that refreshes things, but allows us to, basically remain connected to the text. And you can use that text as the platform from which to fly. Understand? That's the idea. A good platform has to have some give to it, Maybe like a diving board, if you want. And we give it enough movement. You got to watch out not to hit your head on the side of the pool, but that's beside the point. But I would suggest that it's a tune that really basically makes these things come alive again and again and again. So Shiru Ladonai Shir Chadash, Shiru Ladonai Shir Chadash. Let us sing a new song. For Yah has performed marvelous things. God's right hand and holy arm have been the source of God's salvation. Yah's help and righteousness have been made known and have been recorded by the Goyim, the nations. Goyim is a positive word as well. It means nations, nations. Middle of the page. Zamru l'Adonai bechinor, bechinor vekol zimera, bechatzotrot vekol shofar, hariyu lifnei hamelech Yah. Yiram hayam umlo, tevel veyoshveva, niharot, יבחרו כף יחד הרים ירננו. זמרו לאדוני בכינור, בכינור וקול זמרה, בחצוצרות וקול שופר, הריעו לפני המלך יה. ירם הים ומלואו, תבל ויושביה, Neharot Yimchau Chav Yachad Harim Yeranenu. Let the sea roar and that it contains, the world and that they dwell in it. Let the rivers clap their hands, let all the mountains ring for joy before Yah, for Yah comes to judge the earth, and God will judge the world with righteousness and peoples with equity. לפני אדוני קיווה לשבות הארץ, ישבות תבל בצדק וימים במי שערים. Thursday, Psalm 99 on page 9. Think back, Thursday's not too long ago. Yom Chamishi. What do you want to bring into Shabbos with you? And what do you leave behind? The middle of the page, Romemu Ya Eloheinu Ishtachavu Lahar Kodsho Ki Kadosh Ya Eloheinu. And I translated here as raise Yah who gods us. Very important, right? Keep God a verb. Don't make it a noun. Make it a noun. What happens to it? What do nouns do? They define things and make them what they are. So you keep calling God you're holding God hostage to your perception. We have a lot of people in the world, if you don't agree with them about God, right, you don't do very well. So keep it as a verb. And Eloheinu as who gods us, rather than our God, who gods us, okay? You want to use the word guides us, that's fine, but who gods us. And this way we will be able to rise up to the holy hill. All the imagery of many cultures that are only our own is basically the idea of climbing a mountain or a hill. That's part of, I think, in Western culture, certainly Eastern culture as well. So part of the climbing of that hill towards whatever, why I would think people climb hills in all of these cultures, because you get a view of the horizon in another way. And we always have to be aiming towards the horizon. Otherwise, you get stuck. You know. And also, what's also interesting is as you're far away from the hill, it looks tiny, and as you get closer to it, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's true about our challenges in life. You know, as we get closer to them, they seem to rise up. So we want to rise up with it. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu, Romemu Ya Eloheinu.
רוממו יא אלוהינו וישתחוו להר קודשו רוממו יא אלוהינו וישתחוו להר קודשו כי קדוש יא אלוהינו אלוהינו כי קדוש יא אלוהינו Hi di di hi di di hi di 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 yum ba bum bum bye hi di 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 hi di di hi di di hi di 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 yum ba di 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 hi di 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 di.
Today, Yom Shishi, Erev Shabbat Kodesh, the eve of the Sabbath. What can you bring in from today? Could be simple things, you know. Could be momentous things. But what positive energy can you bring in and leave the burden behind, the stumbling blocks behind? Adonai lahamabu yahashav vayeshev ya melech liolam. Adonai os liamo yiten. Adonai yivarech et amo b'shalom. Beautiful poem that was written by Shlomo Halevi Alkabetz, is on page 12. You all know it, I'm sure. It's Lecha Dodi. Again, if you want to know the name of who wrote it, he gave us a name in the first letters of the first 4 paragraphs. Shlomo. That's how you did it, right? You didn't, there wasn't printing. You didn't do it. So Shlomo, we know who wrote it. Shlomo wrote it. And it's a beautiful poem, and I love the translation here because it really is accurate in its translation. It's come, my friend, Lecha Dodi, my friend, Dodi, to greet the bride, Likrat Kol Kala. And then it says, Pnei Shabbat Nikabla. Translate correctly. To welcome the many faces of Shabbat. Pnei is a plural, right? Pnei. So what does that mean? To me, it means that everybody's got their own thing about Shabbos. Right? They got their own thing. Some people have a high Shabbos consciousness that they know they're transgressing Shabbat all day. That's really fantastic level. Wouldn't that be amazing if people got to that place? Well, I'm not observing Shabbat today. That would be unbelievably high level, right? But what is reality for those who do observe Shabbat in their way, and there's no 2 identical ways to do it. You can't copy somebody's Shabbos. I grew up in the Orthodox community. Within the community, everybody was Orthodox. They did everything according to the rules. But every household had something different about Shabbos. It was their Shabbos. So I like this translation better. Pnei Shabbat Nikabla. There are so many tunes, and I'm going to let the Spirit move me and try to find the tune. Here's one I like a lot. It's sort of a Sephardic tune, and you have to be part of it, okay? There'll be a place in there to clap. You'll figure it out, okay? And it's a beautiful little tune, has a Sephardic melody and a wonderful refrain. I rai 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 lai lai li lai lai. I rai rai ri rai ram da ri rai rai. I rai rai ri rai 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 ri rai rai. I rai rai ri rai yam ba bim bam bam. I ri rai 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 rai. I rai 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 rai. I ri rai 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 rai. I rai 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 rai. I rai 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 rai. Hi rai rai ri rai rai rai. Lecha dodi likrat kala. Pnei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala. Pnei Shabbat nikabela. Shamor v'zochor b'dibur echad hishmiyanu.
אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, ושמו לתפארת ולתהילה. היי ריי 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 ריי. היי ריי 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 ריי. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נאסוך, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. היי ריי 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 ריי. יאי ריי 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 ריי. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. מקדש מלך עיר מלוכה, קומי צאי מתוך אפיך. רב לך שבט בימק הבכה, והוא יחמול עלייך חמלה. היי ריי 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 ריי. היי ריי 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 ריי. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. התנערי מעפר קומי, לבשי בגדי תפארתך עמי. על יד בן ישי בעת הלחמי, קרבו אל נפשי, נפשי גאלה. היי ריי 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 ריי. היי ריי 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 ריי. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. Awake, awake, my love, awake. Your light has come. Arise, be light. Rise now, rise. Sing your new song. Splendor of God is open through you. Hi, rai, rai, ri, rai, rai. Hi, rai, rai, ri, rai, 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 rai. Lecha dodi lekrat kala. Pehne Shabbat nikabela. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. No more guilt, no more shame. Why be helpless? Why be weak? All my afflicted find shelter in you. Holy city rebuilt on her hill. Hi, rai, rai, ri, rai, rai. היי ריי 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 ריי. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. והיו למשיסו שוסייך, ורחקו כל מבלייך. יסיס עלייך אלוהייך, כבשוס קטן על קלה. היי ריי 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 ריי. היי ריי 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 ריי. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. Spread your vision east and west, worship the source of all existence. Within your heart is Messiah's grace. Let us rejoice and let us sing. Hi rai rai di rai rai. Hi. Hi rai rai di rai 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 rai. Hi rai 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 rai. Hi rai rai rai. Hi rai 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 rai. Hi rai di rai. Join me to greet Shabbat. Hi rai 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 rai. Hi rai 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 rai. Hi rai 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 rai. Hi da di rai rai. Hi rai rai di rai rai. Hi rai 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 rai. Hi rai rai di rai rai. Hi rai 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 rai. Hi rai 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 rai. Hi rai 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 rai. Hi rai rai. Hi rai 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 rai. Hi rai 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 rai. Hi rai rai. Hi rai 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 rai. Hi rai 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 rai. Hi rai rai rai. Come on. Adodi. Chadodi lekrat kala pene shaba nikabela lechadodi lekrat kala pene shaba nikabela hi rai 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 hi rai 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 hi rai rai. Take a deep breath. It's good to sing, isn't it? We don't sing enough. Do people belong to a choir, any of you? You belong to a choir? Good. We have a lovely community choir in Boston. You know it? It's called Kolenu, which is one that you don't have to audition for. But there is one, if you want to audition and you really like to sing, seriously, the Zamir is really one of the best groups. It's been around 50 years now. Generations of people have come through it. They do a lot of wonderful work. But that you have to really know how to read music. And it also helps if you have a good singing voice. That helps, I found. The nice thing about the chorus is that you don't have to have a great singing voice. Right? I assume that's a plane, okay? Not the balloons don't make noise, right? So my friends, here we are. We're going to really officially bring Shabbat in now with the Psalm for Shabbat, Psalm 92. It's found on page 15. If you notice on the chart, we're now in Malchut, Psalm 92 is always followed by Psalm 93, because Psalm 92 is considered to be the Shekhinah, or the queen, right? Likrat Kala, the bride. And the bride always has attendants with her. So 93 is the attendant that walks behind the queen or behind the bride and holds up the train. Remember those, you go to fancy weddings and everybody's tripping over the train, so you have to have somebody to hold it, especially when they make the circling. It's amazing how many people trip over each other there. It's funny. It's a good thing for the wedding. It sort of relaxes everybody, but you don't want anybody, God forbid, to get hurt. You know what I mean? So, Mizmor Shili Yom Shabbat, we sing a song to the day of Shabbos. Mizmor shir leyom HaShabbat. Mizmor shir leyom HaShabbat. Tov lehodot laya ולזמר לשמך עליון, להגיד בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות, עלי עשור ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון בכינור, כי שימחתני יה בפניך, במעשה ידיך ארנן, Magadlu, Masechaya, Meoda Meku, Machshevotecha, Ishbar, Lo Yeheda, Uchesil, Lo Yavin et Zot. Hai, rai, rai, hai, rai, 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 rai. Hi, rai, 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 rai. It is good to give thanks to Yah and to sing praises to your exalted most high name, Elyon, the Most High. To declare your loving kindness in the morning, your faithfulness in the nights. With an instrument of 10 strings and with a navel, the dulcimer, the solemn sound upon the kinnor, the harp. For you, Yah, has made me glad through all of your works, and I'll be joyous and exult in the works of your hands. How great, Magadlu, are your works, Yah. Your thoughts arise from the very depths of creation. A brutish person will not perceive this, nor will a fool comprehend this. The righteous, at the end of the psalm, the righteous shall flourish like the palm tree. They shall grow like the cedar in Lebanon. Planted in the house of Yah, they shall flourish in the courts of our God. They will still bring forth fruit in old age, and they will be juicy and rich with sap. To declare that Yah is upright, my rock, and to whom there is no falsehood or wickedness. The last 4 lines. Tzadika tamar yifrach be'erez balvanon yizgeh shetuli beveit Yah bechatzrot Eloheinu yafrichu o genuvun beseva deshenim verananim yiyu lehagid ki yashar yatzuri velo avlatabo. Middle of Psalm 93 on page 16. Hay Mikael Ismaim Rabim Hadirim Mishbereyom Hadirim Mishbereyom Adibamorom Adinoi Adibamorom Adinoi Aye Dosecho Nei Yemenu Beyod Leveischo Nava Kodesh Adinoi Liorech Yomim Adinoi Liorech Yamim Hai Rai Ri Rai 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 Hai Rai Ri Rai 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 Hai Rai Ri Rai 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 Hari Rai 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 Hai Rai Ri Rai Rai Hari Rai 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 Hai Rai Rai. It's based on a Yiddish song. Hazi chob gehad koyach Hob ich avois gegein in Mark Ich hab auf alles geschrien Heinte Shabbos Shabbos war Gott Heinte Shabbos Shabbos for God. Yeah, there was a time when we had a marketplace, and the Torah is read in the marketplace on Mondays and Thursdays. We still do that. We read the Torah on Mondays and Thursdays. But I can't imagine many of you going to the mall and bringing your Torah with it, but that's what they meant. You go where people are, and you read. And today you'll be seen as some sort of weird person. They carry you away somewhere. But it's really a powerful thing to leave the building here. You know, we have buildings, thank God. I like buildings. It's good to walk in a building when it's raining outside. It's good to be in a place when it's cold. It's good buildings, right? Not bad. But the bottom line is none of the stuff was supposed to be done in the building. It was supposed to be done outside. So you saw the sunrise, you went, oh, it's time for Birkat HaShachar.
for the blessing of the morning. You see we'll be saying two of the Mariv blessings, and they're all about, wow, you see the sun setting. Wow, that's pretty amazing. I love sunsets. How many people are sunset freaks? I'm a sunset freak. My wife wants me to be a sunrise freak, but I don't know. I don't think the same. I think the sunset's enough for me. But whatever it is, there's a beauty in it. And there's something that inspires everything. And this is why there are so many words in the order of service on the CC door. So many words. So people say, why can't it be shorter? And I said, I know, I agree with you, but the bottom line is this is a miscellany. This is an anthology of poetry. Would you be satisfied if there was only one poem about a rose? You know how many poems there are about roses? If there were only one poem about the dawn, you have hundreds of thousands about the dawn. Everyone who's been inspired writes a poem. So what we have done, and we're, in the modern order of service, we cut out a lot. But in the traditional, there's a lot more. And we basically have to admire it as poetry, not because they're not prayers. I say that to you. They're not prayer, they're works of art. They're works of art. And I think it's important to admire them for what they are. The words are beautiful. It's even worth learning Hebrew for this, because it really loses a lot in the translation. Those of us among us who are in mourning or have a yahrzeit, the mourner's Kaddish is found on page 17. Please respond to the mourners and those with the yahrzeit. Amen. וחייכון וביומייכון וחיי דכל בית ישראל בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן יהי שמי רבא מבורך לעולם ומעולמיה יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה נמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן יהי שלמה רבא מן שמיא וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ועל כל יושבי תבל, ויאמרו amen. You may be seated. Just a few words before we conclude our services with Mariv, the Arvit service. This week's Parsha is Mishpatim. For those who are not reading the Parsha every week, and there's so many ways of getting the Parsha every week, by the way. You can get summaries. Go to myjewishlearning.com. It'll give you in 2 paragraphs what the whole parsha is about. So you can't say no one has access. Okay, you all have access. There's even cartoons, if that's hard for you to read and you want to see animation. There are animation about the parsha of the week. This parsha, Mishpatim, follows last week's parsha, Yitro, with the giving of the Torah. But not really the giving of the Torah. That's really what I think is so important to understand. It's an environment where there are these 10 sayings, utterances they're called. They're not commandments. They're called 10 utterances. Aseret hadibrot. Doesn't say the 10 commandments. Even though you always have that vision. You probably don't, you're young kids, but for us it was always Charlton Heston on the mountain. You don't even know who Charlton Heston is, but he's the guy at the end of the Planet of the Apes. You see that one? All right, I don't want to get involved in that. But Mishpatim follows it with laws. It's called the Covenant Collection. It's a miscellany of laws, not in order. Sometimes strange things fall into it. And it deals with so many different parts about the servitude, slavery, if you want to use that term. It deals with the issue of murder, the issue of premeditated murder, manslaughter. It deals with treating the widow and the orphan with great care, respecting the stranger. Has a few things you may not like. Witches shouldn't live. Wizards should not live. Not a good one, but, everybody had their 2 bits to put in, right? And this became the covenantal moment because when he presents this Moshe, by the way, Moshe writes all this down. It just dawned on me when I read it this year that it says that he wrote it down. So I asked, how did he write it down? Because was there writing? So I went back and I checked it out. Yes, there was writing. Papyrus, paper, reeds, right, for ink. So Moshe made a scroll, a little scroll. And maybe that's how the Torah came down in the scrolls. Because not everything was etched in stone. Because it'd be a very heavy thing to lift every Shabbos. Oh, you got to, right? Another, gonna get a hernia lifting it. So, In the Mishpatim, we have this idea that this is a blueprint for creating society. You will come onto the land, because remember this point in the story, they're about to go up to Canaan. There's no 40 years yet. Remember that. People often think from the very beginning it was 40 years. It only becomes a 40-year punishment after something else happens, when the spies come back right before they were supposed to go up to the land. So they're about to go up, and Moshe writes these laws. I think it's Moshe, maybe inspired by some divine inspiration. He writes these down and says, okay, the proof of the pudding is how you're going to live together. They're all social laws, by the way. There are no, quote-unquote, ritual laws. Even the mitzvot of having the 3 festivals is not seen as a ritual law. It's a communal law. It's a societal law, right? Communities are created by what? Calendar and celebration. That's how you create a community. That's really the essence of it. And every culture in the world has their own way of arranging time. And if you want to join that culture, guess what? Show up when they are showing up. That's how you do it. Show up when they're showing up. So these laws are so, as I say, they cover so much, it's hard to review them in a short time. But I just want to talk about the concept of law itself. The word mishpat, mishpatim, means ideas, concepts that you would arrive at through reason. You might arrive at these. You don't need to have a divine voice tell you that if you see your neighbor's ox is overburdened and is falling down, maybe go help him. You can figure that out, right? You want to have society where people help each other, it's a better society, right? All those kinds of things. So so even though these are laws, I think they were written far after it's placed in the text. It was written after they experimented with how to live. Because if anything you should go home with tonight is that law follows life. Life does not follow laws. Okay? You live in a society. We've found it helpful in our society that people should stop at red lights. Well, maybe for a while they weren't stopping, and other people getting killed. So you say, gee, it would be a good idea to stop at red lights. But let's not make it just a suggestion. Let's make it a law. So if you transgress it, you'll get a citation, and maybe you won't do it again. Sounds very simplistic, but that's the bottom line of how all law ultimately gets codified, is by first seeing if it works in life. It doesn't mean every law is going to be a great law, but that's the idea. So we, as Jews, have taken on these laws. And as I say, these are not ritual laws. These are more how to live as a human being. Later on in the book of Vayikra, there'll be another whole group of laws called the Holiness Code that will have these very famous things. Don't carry a grudge. Don't trip a person who's blind, right? Love your neighbor as yourself. There's a whole group of them called the Holiness Code. So a lot of these things are basically saying, the proof of the pudding of Jewish life is creating a Jewish society that works. Creates a certain sense of equity in that society. Try to do what you can. Even the idea of servitude, which was unfortunately part of the world where people were paying off debts and they had to do service to do that. Everything has the capacity of being something that enlivens you and doesn't deaden you. Remember that. For me, that's really very important. If something is not enlivening you, think about why. Is it the law? Could be, then you work to change it. Or something else, maybe you. Maybe it's you, maybe it's not the law. So people often feel, well, I don't believe there's a commander, how can I be commanded? No, it's a good question, right? I dare say if I asked you to sign an affidavit here about your understanding of what it means that God commands, I get a lot of different opinions here, a lot of different opinions. But one thing we have said is that true freedom only comes through law. There's a midrash that says it so nicely. The word in Hebrew for law is cherut. You may have heard that term, cherut. And he says that true freedom doesn't come from leaving Egypt. It comes when you inscribe charut. They play on the game, play on the root. Charut. When you engrave it into law. And that's really important. We're not talking, when you talk about, you remember in the beginning of the Exodus story, I'm sure all of you remembered Moses and Aaron in front of Pharaoh, and he says, Shlach et ami, right? He's had a stentorian voice, I'm sure. Let my people go. How many people ever heard that expression? Recently. Not recently, I know. But Passover is coming. But everybody forgets the next word. What's the next word? Anybody know? What? Sheyavduni. They should serve me. So it's not basically you shouldn't serve somebody. Even Bob Dylan knows you got to serve somebody. But it's the bottom line is that true freedom is to find a higher purpose that you want to serve. Not a human being like a pharaoh, not an idol, not your new EV, whatever it is, etc., which people can get fixated on, But what I really think is important is to realize that phrase needs to be constantly brought back to us. Yes, let my people go, not into anarchy, right? Not into anarchy. Let them come and learn to serve a higher purpose. And before the Torah was given last week, what did God say? At least, what did God say to Moshe? God doesn't talk, by the way. He doesn't have a voice. But what did he say to Moshe? He said, you will be for me a nation of Kohanim, Memlechet Kohanim. What's a Kohen mean? Anybody know? Well, what's a priest? I don't know what the word priest means. But in Hebrew, lehachen is to serve. Hi, I'm Eugene, and I'm your Kohen tonight. You go to a good restaurant, right? So a Kohen is a server, someone who serves. And the imperative for Jews is, and I hope will be, is that we have a mission to serve this world, to bring this world to a place where perhaps our messianic fantasies can come true. Believe it or not, we believe, this is our mishigas. We believe the world could be perfected. We really believe that. It's crazy, isn't it? Underneath all that conflict, we have this mishigas. We'll say it in a few moments. Shema Yisrael, hakol echad. Wait a second, nothing's echad. Everybody's at each other's throats. Yes, that's what's there. But we have to have a deep commitment to what the underlying principle of interdependence of all things. We know that from us, seichel, logic, everything's connected, right? The earthquake there is going to have an effect somewhere else. We're a very small little planet, very small little planet. So, mishpatim. There are many who say there's too many laws, and we developed this very difficult number, which sorry we ever got to it, 613 mitzvot. You heard that expression ever? And a lot of Jews say, what? And I say, wait a second, take it easy, relax. 80% or 90% are no longer applicable. Really? Yes, there's no temple, no offerings. All of those mitzvot about the offerings, all the mitzvot about stuff in Eretz Yisrael, it's not applicable anymore. But they left about 80 or 90 that are the real tough ones. Don't carry a grudge. Love your neighbor. Wow. So yes, we have fewer mitzvot, but they're more intense. They're talking about how to live with each other rather than, because to tell you the truth, the other mitzvot for all of were pretty easy. You do something and you all right, that's it. You finished, next. No. Didn't take a lot of interpersonal work, right, to make kiddush, right, which became a mitzvah. It wasn't originally a mitzvah. So I hope that we can get more sophisticated when we talk about Jewish law. Get more sophisticated and understand that we do have differences of opinion within Judaism. There's no question about it. Matter of fact, I define Judaism as a people of many faiths, but one fate. Get it? There are Jews on the other side of the spectrum that I agree with nothing that they believe or they claim to believe. Okay, and but we all have the same fate as Jewish people that we've learned, unfortunately, from good times and certainly from bad times. So when we say law, don't see it as a burden. A lot of people say, oh, the law, God, all these Jews are so legalistic. That's not true.
They're trying, we're trying, and we continue to try, to make all of these things a source of liberation from us, for us. So I trust we will get there. I look at people who are slightly younger than I am here and I say, well, it's your job now. We blew it in some ways. I know. I take full blame for it. But on the other hand, we gave you a lot of good education. You should be doing a good job. We prepared many of you. And I'm glad to see that many of you are taking it on. It's really beautiful. It really is a beautiful thing. The Kabbalah, the great book of Kabbalah is the Zohar, the book of illumination. And on page 18, there's a kavanah for Shabbat to begin the evening service, because the Zohar was written before there was Kabbalat Shabbat in Tzvat. Okay, there wasn't. And it's from the Parsha Truma, and it gives us a number of notions that are important to us. Let's read together. A vision of Shabbat, an insight into the profound meaning of being at one. Through the service of Kabbalat Shabbat, the throne of glory is prepared for the Holy One. With the arrival of Shabbat, the Shekhinah is liberated from all forces of evil and harsh judgments, leaving her free for intimate union with the holy light, adorned by many crowns by the Holy One. All kingdoms of anger, all dominions of judgment flee from her presence. No alien power reigns in all the universe, and no alien power reigns in all the worlds. She is bathed in light from on high, while receiving a crown of Shabbat prayers from earth, from us, the holy people. And all of us are adorned on Shabbat with fresh additional souls, which are ours on Shabbat. Then we begin Shabbat prayers, happily blessing her, joy and gladness on our faces, released from thoughts of severity and judgment, uttering, and I ask you to rise, as I invite you to our prayer, uttering Baruch Hu, praise Yah. As Shabbat blessings and peace begins to flow, I invite you to our worship on page 19. Baruch Hu et Yah mevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Va'ed. The blessing of light, you may be seated. Let's say it together, page 19. Remember, respond with a raucous amen. Otherwise, I got to do it again until you say amen. Prayer is put out, has to be responded to. So let's read together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro mariv aravim b'chokhmah poteach sharim. ובתבונה משנה איתי ומחליף את הזמנים ומסדר את הכוכבים במשמרותיהם ברקיע כרצונו. בורא יום ולילה גולות בפני חושך וחושך בפני אור. ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, יה הצבאות שמו. אל חי וקיים תמיד ימלוך עלינו עולם ועד. ברוך אתה יה המריב הרבים. Gift of love of Torah. Page 20. Ahavat olam bet Yisrael, Amcha ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim, otanu limadeta, al ken ya Eloheinu, b'shokveinu u'vkumeinu, nasiach b'chukecha, v'nismach b'divrei torotecha, u'v'mitzvotecha li'olam va'ed, ki hem chayenu v'yorech yameinu, אורך ימינו, ובהם נגה יומם ולילה, יומם ולילה, ועבדך תסיר ממנו עולמים, ברוך אתה יה, אוהב עמו ישראל. The Shema is found on page 21. We take a full breath for each of the words of the Shema. Again, Shema is not a prayer, it's a shout! It's a geshrai. Listen! Sheba Yisrael Havaya Elohei Yedu Adonai Let's read together. V'yahavta ha'et Adonai Elohecha בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. רימו אלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם ושבתך בביתך ולכתך בדרך שוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם להיות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובהישארך. Let's turn to page 24 for a interpretation of the second paragraph of Shema in the middle of the page. Let's read it together. V'haya im shemoah. If I carefully follow the way I have been shown, the way of justice, mercy, and humility, serving life with the fullness of my life, then the earth will flourish with righteousness and riches. Pure rain will fall in its season, the earth will bring forth her bounty. My labors will flourish, and the fragrance of life will scent the air like fine oil. There'll be food enough for all, and all be able to partake of it. No one will exploit another, for no other shall be separate from the one. But beware. If I follow another path, pursuing gods of narrow desire, who separate one from another in quest of power and control, then the heavens will rain poison, creation will fall ill, and I and all will soon disappear from this good earth. Therefore I impress these words upon my heart to quell anger. I bind them upon my hands to stop violence. I set them before my eyes to see the one who is all. By word and by deed I teach them. I repeat them at home and away, morning and night. I write them upon the doorposts of my home and upon my gate, that my dwelling be a haven from ignorance and delusion. Then my days and the days of my people will endure forever. One generation passing righteousness and kindness to the next, all the days of the earth. Adonai Elohechem emet. The third blessing surrounding the Shema, the blessing of redemption, on page 25 in the middle of the page. Umalchuto v'ratzon kiblu aleihem. Moshe u'Miriam u'vnei Yisrael achanu shira v'simcha rabba v'yamru chulam mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh nora tehilot osef ele malchutecha ru'bnecha b'kayam b'zeh Moshe ze'eli anu v'yamru Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed v'nemar כי פדה אדוני יעקב וגולו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה יה, גואל ישראל. And we say, page 26, let's read together. Cause us, eternal our God, to lie down for well-being and help us arise, our ruler to life. Spread over us the shelter of your well-being and fix in us good counsel in your presence. Save us for the sake of your name and shield us. Keep far from us enmity, illness, strife, hunger, and fear. Keep oppressors from confronting or pursuing us. Let us be covered by the shadow of your wings. For you are our protector and helper. Mercy and compassion is your rule. Guard our going out and our coming in for life and for well-being from this time forth and forever. And spread over us the shelter of your well-being. Praised are you, Adonai, who spreads over us the shelter of your well-being and over the people of Israel, over Yerushalayim, and over the entire world. Ufros aleinu sukkah shelomecha. Baruch ataya, hapore sukkah shalom aleinu, al kol Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim v'kol olam. And we say, we rise for the declaration of Shabbat on page 27. Page 27, if you're able to rise, please rise. V'shabru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית העולם. בני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ וביום השביעי שבת וינופש. Following our transition on page 28 with the Chatzi Kaddish to the Amidah, it starts on page 29, goes to page 39. It has in it all kinds of things to read, the traditional text, translations, commentary. Do what you feel is comfortable to you. If you wish to sit and just contemplate the words in your heart, that's fine as well. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, ועלמא דברך וימליך מלכותי, בחיי חון וביומי חון, ובחיי לכל בית ישראל, והגלה והגלה, ובזמן קהרי ויאמרו. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם יום יומיה, יתברך, יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה. לעילה מכל בחטא ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דה מהירן בעלמה, ואמרו אמן. מלך מי מסמכם. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable unto you, O Yah. Hiyu liratzon imrei fi vehegyon libi lifanecha O Adonai tzuri v'goali oseh shalom. Anyone? Yes? Anyone else? Jill Hyman, okay.
Those at home, if you want to put the name into the chat. Mishberach.
Misheberach avotenu b'kol ha'imotenu, the source of blessing. עלינו לשבח לדור הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו במגוי ארצות, ולא שמנו משפחות אדמה, שלא שם חלקנו עמהם, וגורל עלינו עם כל העולם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך, מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא.
Bottom of page 45. For your sovereignty is yours, and you will reign eternally in honor, as it is said in your Torah. The eternal will reign forever and ever. And as it is said by the prophet Zechariah, the eternal will be ruled over all the earth. And not they, the eternal, will be one, and God's name will be one. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אחד, ושמו אחד. You may be seated. This coming week we commemorate the yahrzeit of Adele Aronowitz, Benjamin Lev Ben Bella official, Mary Brooks, Hillary Kaplan, Cy Cherenson, Yaakov Aney, Isaac Elstein, Edward Feldman, Andrea Fisher, Linda Friedman, Sherwin Harris, Sandra Chilage, Mark Kamenker, Bruce Kirshner, Lev Chaslavsky, Maxine Krasnow, Dorothy Krieger, Selma Krodik, Paul Nithkin, Sonia Rapkin, Esther Rosen, Estelle Schoenberger, Dora Shapiro, Anita Ulanov, David Wagner, Sandy Wheeler, Samuel Cohen, Miriam Gluntz, Maxwell Goldings, Julius Harry Green, Edward Grossman, Etta Herman, Julio Joyson, Abraham Miller, Israel Nyman, Julius Reese, Fanny Zaltzman, and Jacob Kellman. Any other names you'd like to mention? If you are in mourning or have a yahrzeit, the Mourner's Kaddish is found on page 48. Shemei Rabbah. Amen. Yoma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol bet Yisrael b'agalav v'zman kariv v'yimru Amen. Yehei Shemei Rabbah mevorach li'olam olmei olmaya. Yitvarach v'yishtabach v'yitpo'ar v'yitrumam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shemei dekutsha brechu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tush bechata v'nechemata damiran v'yalma v'yimru Amen. Yehi shlom rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'yimru Amen. Michael, are you doing announcements? Okay, I'll do the announcements. And then we'll do Kiddush, sing Shalom Aleichem, we'll do Kiddush. We have challah and wine, so stick around. There's still a lot of fun to come. So, my friends, the announcements. If you are interested in getting these announcements, join us and tbzbrookline.org, and you get a lot of information. First, next Friday night is Shabbat Nariyah. Those who have not been here, it's a great opportunity to raise your voices If you've been here, you know we create the entire shul becomes a large circle. We have some wonderful people in the congregation who lift us up with song, and it's really a wonderful experience. And I'm glad that many people come, and it's a very intergenerational, I must say, and very broad acceptance of all kinds of individuals of all kinds of orientations. It's quite lovely. Next Shabbat as well, after Kiddush, on Shabbat morning, we have a talk by Ellen Krauss-Grossman, who will talk about her work with the Zen peacemakers, if you're familiar with them. A very important group within the Buddhist community. A lot of Jews in it too, by the way, I must say. Some of my best Buddhists are Jews, you know that. It's Jews are big, you know, everywhere. And then Purim is coming. As a matter of fact, tomorrow, this is now Shabbat Shkalim. We're reading a separate portion tomorrow, and this lets us know that in 1 month, Purim's here. Coming, and we will give our shkalim, our shekels, to matanot le'evyonim, the gifts to the poor. And I want to encourage you, we support, all the shuls in town support a wonderful organization called Yad Chesed. You can give the money now, you don't have to wait to Purim. Yad Chesed does really remarkable work with very little overhead, almost no overhead. And the night of Purim, they will collect all the funds from all the shuls. We raise $60,000 sometimes. And they will give the next morning, people will get cards to use in supermarkets to get ready for Pesach. So it's like direct stuff. And it's a wonderful charity. We used to do it with passing a basket around, but now people want to give more and more and more. So we're glad, you know, so you can use your credit card if you go online. On March 4th, we're also going to have a Shabbat devoted to, this will be right before Purim, devoted to reproductive rights Shabbat. That's being done across the country. We'll discuss why reproductive justice is a Jewish issue and connect this learning to a feminist perspective on the Megillah read during a Kiddush talk. On March 5th, come and join us to bake Hamantashen, pack the Mishloach Manot bags, deliver it to our elders who live next door in 1550. It's a wonderful experience. And the baking Hamantashen is phenomenal. It's just, again, people of all ages. And March 6th is the Purim Carnival in the afternoon and Megillah reading and the spiel. If you want to be part of the spiel, they're getting more elaborate as we go on. Call Rav Tiferet. We'll be glad to hear from you. There's also, we had a request. 3 synagogues and 3 churches in the Brookline, Newton area have taken on a number of refugees over the years to support. So we have an Afghan family that we've been supporting since, I guess, August of two years ago. And they have to find housing for just the summer months because the people who are renting them, who are renting at a big saving. So if you can help us find housing, let us know. We'd be glad to help you. I want to thank Michael Krieger, our usher. I want to thank Gabriel Krauss-Grossman for his tech help. And see you all tomorrow at 9 a.m. for Torah study in person down at the community hall. And I will be leading services tomorrow morning starting at 10. So I hope to see all of you there. Any other announcements? In that case, let's turn to page 50, I believe, and we'll sing Shalom Aleichem together, and we'll make Kiddush.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hashawaret, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem LeShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Uni LeShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Seitchem LeShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Come gather up front as we make Kiddush and Motzi. Come closer, don't worry. It's all safe up here.
This is the ritual removing of the plastic from the challah. Started in the 13th century before there was plastic. That people would do this. It's an amazing thing. Maybe I can get someone to be a bit more. Okay, I think I got it. Make sure I cover the challah. So if you care to join me, you can join me. Savrei chaverai. Chaim. Savrei chaverai. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam borei peri hagafet. Baruch atah Yah Eloheinu melech olam asher kiddeshanu mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho b'ahava uv'ratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reshit ki hu yom techila lemikra kodesh zecher letziat Mitzrayim Kivanu v'charta yotanu kidashtaim kol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha b'ahava v'ratzon hinchaltanu baruch atah Yah mekadesh haShabbat. Big amen. Go, beautiful. So we'll all attach ourselves to the challah, and we'll make the blessing together. Ready? Presto! Look at that. Somebody want to hold the challah, please? Or hold the tray? Good. And everybody gather around the tray. Create a chain of holding the challah. Right, the World Wide Web. My friends, we have such bounty. Let us share that bounty with those in need. We have so many people going through so many difficult times. The Ukraine, Afghanistan, Turkey, Syria, and the list goes on. And I know we can share what we can, and I hope we will. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. All right, you put it down. People can take a piece of challah and salt. It's wonderful. Thank you. So Shabbat Shalom, everybody. I'm sorry I can't put this out into the Zoom, but maybe next season we'll figure it out. If you have those booklets, please bring them back to the back. You'll see where they are on the shelves. And love to see you all of you. It's great to see all of you. Good to see all of you.
I'm in class. I'm in class.
Where?
Immersion.